A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak Lube, our home away from home on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we are heading into whiteout weekend at Deer Goon as Washington comes in, and Nittany Lions and Huskies will meet for the first time ever at Beaver Stadium.
Correct.
And that'll be, it'll actually be a little after 8 o'clock. The kickoff will occur. I haven't heard a lot of pushback, and I know there is pushback out there on the fact that this is not going to be a televised game.
Oh, there's pushback from me.
Be a streamed game. And I think this is the first one, right, for Penn State. It's something that many other schools have been going through over the course of the year.
I think we were on Peacock before.
Just Peacock?
What else would stream, honestly?
I don't. Well, what else? You mean what other streaming services have college football games?
Yeah.
Oh, there are others out there.
Peacock's the one that's the most popular. Obviously, they put remember they put the Chiefs playoff game on there last year.
Yep.
It screws everybody in the parking lot.
It's going to be
you know my routine
for sure. Yep.
My routine historically has always been I got a real nice television.
Yep.
In the parking lot, and I go there and I watch the game in the parking lot, but we can't do that because we can't stream it because there's no Wi-Fi, obviously, in the parking lots with 200,000 people walking around.
Now, it will be streamed in IMAX theaters at select theaters. I think there's 6 of them, I think I read in Pennsylvania, but none in the immediate, State College, Center County area. And so
is that a countrywide thing they're going to stream this game?
No, it's very select theaters. There's 6 in Pennsylvania. I think there are other ones. No, I don't think that's
1,600 right. Pixels or something. Maybe.
I don't think it's 1,600 theaters. It's 6 theaters in Pennsylvania. I'm guessing there are some out in although I don't even. I can look that up, I guess, but. So, regardless, Penn State, Washington, Saturday night, 8 o'clock. Very important game, obviously, for Penn State in terms of its playoff aspirations. And I really do think it's interesting because not that we want to find this out, but I kind of think Penn State is out of the playoff mix if it loses any of these final 4 games, but that is debatable. I think if it's a close loss, in particular if it's at Minnesota, depending on how some other things play out, I guess Penn State certainly could still get in as maybe even as high as a 10 seed. Certainly they would not be a home game in that scenario in the playoffs. Well, right, they already have the 1 loss, so that would be a 2-loss Penn State team at that point. So listen, you don't want to.
We want to win all the games. I get it.
Allow any of that to factor.
We literally might be in a better situation. And again, you don't play college. You don't play a sport going out there saying, "Oh, if we lose, this is okay." No, you play every game to win, and we did. But were you surprised at 6 in the college football playoff?
I was. I sent out
You had me thinking, because I was like, "Oh, maybe we might be pretty low."
Well, I didn't think we'd be horribly low, so I sent out my prediction, which was wrong in a lot of different places
in the playoffs.
Trying to get my.
I'm sorry, we didn't talk on Tuesday.
My spot here. Well, briefly.
Well, we didn't talk, but buddy, if we went down and scored a touchdown and won in the last second, we both would have nailed that score.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I had visions of that. I was like, oh, here we go. We're going to score a touchdown here, and we're going to have a late field goal or overtime, and then boom, we'd have been perfect. But no.
No.
You ruined it, Jeff. You ruined it.
So, I was surprised. I thought Penn State I wish would be able to get more details on how they arrive, how the College Football Playoff Committee arrive at their decisions. Because what I thought would be factored in more heavily this year, and we'll delve a little bit more into this because it is one of the challenges, and it's one of the things that I think as we continue to evolve here with the college football playoffs and with college football overall, I think one of the things that will change, and obviously the Big Ten and the SEC are already talking about it, is that you're not going to have these schools. Again, this is what I think, not anything that's come down as definitive from anybody involved. But one of the difficulties right now, and I thought Penn State would get dinged harder than it did because of the lack of playing any ranked opponents.
Agreed.
Other than Ohio State, thus no wins over ranked opponents.
And the announcers seem to have agreed with you.
And there is a very real possibility that Penn State could get through this entire season without a win over a ranked opponent, meaning at the end of the year, the opponent would be ranked.
Sure.
So all 11 potential wins for Penn State could all come against teams that at the end of the year are unranked. I would say that is likely right now. Not definite, but likely that is going to be the way it plays out. But here's the thing. So when you schedule West Virginia, I don't know that you're necessarily scheduling that with the idea that, man, that's going to be a playoff team, a top 10 team.
No idea.
But I think you're scheduling with the idea, man, we're scheduling a big game there. Like it's a regional rivalry type of game. And West Virginia has had many years where it is a top 20, top 25 type of team.
Agreed.
And certainly plenty of years in there where they're not. But I mean, you're scheduling that game with the idea that, yeah, we're trying to get a good game, a tougher opponent on our non-conference schedule. And when you play in the Big Ten, you kind of presume over the course of a 9-game schedule, at the end of the year, that schedule is going to include 3-4 ranked teams anyway. Well, because of Penn State does not control the Big Ten portion of the schedule, obviously. So we talked a lot about no Michigan, but now it's a bigger deal actually, and no Oregon at the start of the season. Oregon's still a big deal, but Indiana now becomes a big deal that you're not playing them. And, Illinois fading a little late, USC not living up to what we thought early in the season they might be. All of these things contribute to a problem on the schedule front. I think one of the challenges for the committee or anybody looking at college football is how much do you punish a team? I mean, the kids obviously have nothing to do with the schedule. But even the coaches or the program, again, sometimes you're scheduling a game with the idea, like if you scheduled Florida State this year, you were scheduling it with the idea that, man, we're going to face a big-time program. This will be a huge challenge for us. Well, are you going to penalize a school for scheduling Florida State now because Florida State ends up being horrible? And, conversely, when you schedule
this year,
certain teams, you're scheduling with the idea that that's a win, and like a Pitt being a surprise this year. Not the best example.
We have West Virginia
year in and year out.
Bowling Green and Kent State, right?
Yep.
You knew that too. I mean, West Virginia would be the more marquee matchup. So we could sit there and say, 8 years ago when this was playing, we didn't know that they were not going to be in the top 25 team. Now, next year's schedule, Nevada, Villanova, and there is a Delaware.
Yep.
8 years ago when these schedules were made, they weren't good teams. So I think I think more people will. If you're playing 9 Big Ten games and the SEC will eventually start playing 9 SEC games, you can't afford to have LSU playing USC in the beginning of the season because it doesn't mean anything. you understand what I'm saying? Like I think that we are being punished for it, and they're talking about it, but there's nothing we can do about it.
See, I don't think they are being punished for it.
They have not been punished about it.
Yeah.
The announcers were saying, I can't believe a team like Indiana, a team like Boise, somebody like that who was undefeated, and they are still out of the top 10, while we are sitting at 6 with a loss and 0 wins over any kind of quality opponent.
So I think what is going to happen moving forward is you're not going to be able to put a schedule like Penn State has for next year. And I think you're going to have a governing body, whatever that looks like, put together the schedules basically a year in advance. Like, hey, within a couple of weeks of the end of one season, more along the NFL lines and hey, we're going to have you as a Big Ten school will face an SEC school. Now, even then, like it is impossible to put together a schedule, especially when you have 16, 18 team down the road, maybe 20 team conferences, even if you're trying to balance it out, right? Like Michigan going into this year, while I think many of us expected them to drop off, I think they will lose to Indiana this week, and I think they'll lose to Ohio State. We'll have to see how it plays out. But if they do, that's a 6-6 football team. Well, you're not, even at the beginning of this year, there were not many people saying, yeah, I think you were one of them saying, I think they're going to take a bigger drop off than some are making it out to be.
You were making a big push for their defense, which was an outstanding defense.
Correct.
They lost their whole offense.
But their quarterback, yes, and their quarterback play.
Their defense was supposed to carry them, but they cannot carry them, and they have not being on the field so much.
So even going into a season, my point being just this, that, man, at the end of last year, let's say we do a Big Ten SEC challenge the way they're talking about, and you match up the champions of each team from the previous year and right on down the list. Well, the problem is, all right, if you're Michigan and you're getting Georgia, well, that's not and then, whoever second gets Ohio State, Alabama gets Ohio State. Well, you tell me who got the break there. And again, if you did like an ACC Big 12 thing, again, you're scheduling Florida State out of the gate against the Big 12 champion. You're like, man, that's going to be a really tough. Well, no, you ended up getting bottom of the rung this year.
I got to stop
Same
you
thing
there.
With like Washington last year. Like it changes so much from season to season, and even within, because of the transfer portal and everything else, even when you're like, all right, listen, we can really analyze this. Well, no, you can't, because maybe 4 or 5 kids get together and say, no, we're out of here. We think we can go do it somewhere else. Or maybe the school does a great job and gets 4 or 5 kids in that are difference makers, and you have a team that goes from being a projected 6-6 team to, my God, we got the right quarterback and this big-time receiver, and all of a sudden they're right there as contenders.
Yeah, you can't project Jim Harbaugh and Nick Saban both leaving in the same year.
And even if you do, again, do you know what the drop-off is going to be, the extent of it? Alabama may still be a playoff team. They might not be. We got to see how this plays out. Michigan certainly is not. So even when you that's the thing. Even when you think you know and have a general idea. Now, sometimes you do. We thought Ohio State would be very good. Ohio State's very good. Thought Oregon was going to be very good. They're very good. So, yeah, sometimes you know, but sometimes you don't.
I would tell you the story about Tim
it doesn't
Curley
work out.
Tim Curley and I, when I had just moved back, so 05 era. Dick Ennis' father died, so we took a plane down to North Jersey. Ace, me, Franny, and Tim Curley and other people, but the coaches were still, it was camp. So we went down to see Dick on his father's funeral, and we had lunch, and Tim Curley was like, I had just gotten back, and he was like, Keith, you have no idea the amount of schools that are calling the playoffs right now because they know we were down, and they still wanted that blue blood matchup.
Yep.
He's like Clemson, Georgia, LSU, all these teams who never wanted to play us before ever now want to play us because they know that we're down and we are our marquee program. I do want to. I try to interrupt you, but I didn't want to interrupt you. But what the hell do you think happened to Florida State?
So
it just
I don't know. In terms
compounded, and it's just like
I mean, I think they did lose a lot of talent off of last year's
There's no doubt
team.
about that.
I mean, it's not surprising they took a step back, but my God,
I mean, they're in a different.
It's a step back, and then it's like the bottom has completely
unbelievable
dropped out. I don't know. I would be curious to find out his honest assessment if you could get it at the end of the season. We talk about it a lot with confidence in different teams, and I'm just wondering if after a couple of losses earlier in the season, if Mike Norvell sensed or saw, oh my gosh, like these guys are better than they realize, but now it's snowballing, or if we didn't have the talent we thought we did, stockpiled, or combination therein. Like USC to me is a great example. Like that team has lost confidence,
and they were only after losing to us, they were 3-1 plays from winning.
Yeah, and I still think talent-wise, they probably have one of the top 20 rosters in college football.
Still.
Just in terms of pure athletic talent. Position by position. I'd have to really sit down. I mean, I'm kind of surmising that off the top of my head. But it is not a team that is lacking talent. I'll just, that much I can say. But I do think once you – and in this day and age – it is going to be interesting to see how many teams, after they get that second or especially that third loss, where I think across the board now, I know they were talking that it's possible that a 3-loss SEC team gets in, and it is definitively possible this year. But like when USC lost to Penn State, that they knew that is the end of the playoff chances. So not only, I think confidence gets shaken with losses, but also then, all right, well, and I think it's a subconscious thing. I don't think the players sit there and, oh my gosh, well, the best bowl game we can get to is the whatever bowl it is that's out there. Do we really want to play it out? I mean, I don't think they're sitting there and openly expressing that or even necessarily thinking it, but I do think, oh man, well, there's not like what we wanted to play for this season is gone, and a lot of those guys do have NFL aspirations, and so in particular, I'm wondering how many of like the seniors, like I don't know if I really want to go all in on this thing now. Like, does it really make that big of a difference if we're 8-4 or 7-5 in the big picture here? And truthfully, there isn't a big difference in that. So the upside of having the college football playoff system the way it is more teams have more to play for longer periods. But the other side is it's almost like a basketball team trying to play for the NIT. I mean, some programs will take it depending on where you're at, but nobody is like jumping for joy. Man, what an opportunity we have here with the NIT. Now, if you're not in the playoffs, no matter what the bowl game, and I'm not saying that anybody's going to be terribly upset, and especially if you're a school that hasn't been to a bowl game in a while, all of that I understand still plays in. But it really is now, if you're not in the playoffs, it's like, okay, kind of whatever.
Indiana get in with a loss to Notre Dame, or with a loss to Ohio State?
I believe they will.
Think about that.
I think pretty
10?
definitively. They were.
Or were they 7?
Were they not?
I forget.
All right, let me bring it.
But I'm saying, do they have a better victory than Penn State? Should they be behind us as an undefeated team?
Yeah, I think that is a very debatable point.
It's weird, right? Now you're talking about a three-loss SEC team getting into the playoff. Is there a fourth Big Ten team to get in?
This year,
That
yes.
is a
Right
lot.
right now it would be four Big Ten and 4 SEC schools,
And then the one Power 5 at Notre Dame.
and correct.
Well, no.
And then you have
BYU, Notre Miami,
Big
ACC.
12 ACC champs. Yep.
And dude, that's so funny. The ACC having SMU in it, and then the BYU being in the Big 12. It's like that popped to me. I mean, I know that. Then you see it, you're like, "Wow, that's right. I forgot about that."
Yeah. So,
SMU in the ACC.
Yeah. So Indiana is 8. A loss to Ohio State might drop them a couple of spots, but that they would be in. Indiana needs to get to 11-1. They do that, they're in. Penn State needs to get to 11-1. They're in.
I've been looking at Indiana. They have not lost a game by more. They have not won a game by less than 14 points.
No, they have.
They are trouncing people.
Yep. Nope. That offense.
Did we talk about Signetti the other day?
High powered.
Did I mention this? I don't know much about him. I know he's at JMU. I know he's at IUP. All this, and I was like, oh, it might be a young up and coming young whippersnapper. Maybe get a job somewhere in the Big Ten. This and that. In a higher Big Ten level. He's 63.
There's a lot of people that think he may be Ohio State bound,
man.
If Ryan Day does not get that team to the finals. Yeah, no, he's had success.
Yeah, I just that age jumped out at me because I was sitting there thinking the way everybody's talking about it, and I'm like, oh, okay, you know what? Maybe he is a younger guy, but no. But the Indiana one it's peculiar to me because they don't have any more marquee wins than we do. I mean, well, there's only how many teams in the Big Ten right now that are in the top 20? That's 4. That's the 4 that are in the top 10. What a world. So I'm watching it today, and I'm like, Carrie's like, oh, my God, can you imagine that? And I said, do you know how far away we are from this being like a reality? I mean, honest to God, it's set up nice for us. I mean, I think that we've gotten very, very lucky with where we're at right now and sitting at 6. That we win out, we're not going to lose. They're never going to drop us. We lose to. I mean, we beat Purdue. Are they going to drop us to 7?
Yeah,
maybe if we
Penn State could drop with Tennessee's remaining schedule, and obviously if Indiana beats Ohio State, Indiana would jump over Penn State.
Okay.
So yeah, Penn State could certainly drop. I think if BYU runs the table and looks impressive doing so.
We're not dropping out of the 12. That's the good thing. So
for sure.
Win out.
If yep.
Did you like the matchup? The hypothetical matchup of Notre Dame?
Which not as much as I like the idea of getting an SEC team in Beaver Stadium. And I think that is actually a more likely scenario for Penn State right now than Notre Dame. But Penn State, if it wins out, likely will be a 6 or a 7 seed in the playoffs. And again, I think, and at that point, the expectations I do think have changed a bit here. And certainly maybe the pressure is ratcheted up because of the loss to Ohio State in that. I don't think getting to the playoffs is enough for this to be a successful season, quote unquote successful, in the eyes of anybody within that program. And very few fans, I think, would chalk up, yep, they got to the playoffs and then lost at Beaver Stadium. Boy, that was a successful season.
And they beat nobody the whole year.
Yep, correct. So I think for this to qualify as a fans feeling good, and I think for anybody in that locker room, really the minimum now is they have to get to the quarterfinals. They have to close out with 4 wins here in the regular season. And regardless of who the opponent is, the whole reason you're wanting the home game at Beaver Stadium is to get a win at Beaver Stadium in the postseason. And I think the pressure there on James Franklin, obviously, is ratcheted up with the loss to Ohio State. And listen, whoever it is, if that is the scenario that plays out, Penn State wins the final 4 games, goes in as the 6 or the 7 seed in the playoffs, Penn State will be favored over whoever it is. Now, depending on who it is, might not, it could be like a point, but Penn State will be favored. Well, if you're favored and you're home, like that is a game you need to win for the perception of the program. And really, I think for the kids in the program, the coaches in the program to feel like, all right, yep, we're truly on track. If Penn State wins the final 4 games and turns around and loses to an LSU in the opening round of the playoffs at home, to your point, there's not a signature win in that schedule. Like, Illinois was good. Minnesota on the road would be good. Wisconsin was good. There's not a win that you're like, man, that was the statement game. Pulling it out at USC showed something, but you're certainly not looking back at the end of the year and saying, boy, that was a signature win in terms of the big picture stuff here for the program. So I do think you need that win in the postseason to feel good about it from a fan perspective, but I also think just the program itself to really think like you're taking another step forward. Now, it will be interesting if all of that plays out. Penn State wins its final 4 games, gets that first round playoff win over whoever at home. Then it becomes really interesting because I think there will still be a sizable segment of the fan base. And this is where we'll get in probably to the, what I debated with Pooch last year over what is, I forget exactly how he put it, good, satisfactory, or you just don't feel good. If you win those 4 games to close out the season, you win that first round playoff game, and you get trounced in the quarterfinals. Let's say Penn State goes in ranked 5 and is the 6th seed. And let's say that the number 3 seed is like Iowa State.
Yep.
Miami would be a little different, but I'm thinking more if it's an Iowa State or, a 1-loss ACC team, or even like if Clemson comes back and wins the ACC, a 2-loss Clemson team, right? And you lose that game handily. I still don't think you're feeling great about the season. Now, if you lose a close game, again, to me, then it becomes more about, all right, well, what happened? Did Penn State have another couple of situations where it's down inside the 5 and they didn't punch it in because now like that ratchets it up? Or was it, man, it was just a really well-played game. That team made a great play at the end and they win it by a field goal. I can see a situation where you're still not feeling like this was a successful season, even if you get to the quarterfinals. But I think generally my thinking is if you get to the quarterfinals and don't get your doors blown off, which I don't think would happen, that, it's going to be hard to qualify it as an unsuccessful season at that point. But all of that remains to be seen how it all plays out. For now, Penn State needs to really dial in here on Saturday night. I am really curious. I know they're saying the right things. I know James Franklin is preaching and saying the right things. It is a lot easier, Goon, especially with everything that comes with that Ohio State game. It is a lot easier to say, yep, we're flushing it, we're moving on, and actually have your mind, yes, we are focused in completely on Washington. We're not worried about what opportunities lost. I am really curious to see how Penn State comes out here, the energy level from the team I'm talking about at the outset. And if they don't get off to a good start, what does this thing look like Saturday night? I think I feel good about it going in terms of this team and the maturity and being able to handle it. And I think the whiteout helps and all of that. But as we talked about it helps if you get off to a good start, that whiteout crowd. If you don't get off to a good start, I think there's a sizable portion of this fan base that is ready to let it be known their displeasure.
And they'll be accused of being Eagle fans because that's what we do. We boo and hate our team. So
there you go.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the whiteout energy in the real whiteout,
yep,
will be very much needed to get these guys going because it is a night game. You know, we're coming off of a very bad loss, a tough loss, but I think that energy that we're going to get from that whiteout gets us through. If it's not the whiteout and it was a noon game this week, I think we would have some big time trouble getting wound up and ready to go for this game. And then, we have to worry about Washington, the travel situation. They're flying in, I believe, Harrisburg, and then they're going to drive up here. I don't know when they're coming in. I'd love to know their schedule. I don't know what their schedule, how they've handled coming east. But that that has the going east or west has led to slow starts for the team traveling. So interested to see what's going on because that we have talked about Game 7 energy and stuff like that at a home arena, and that is if Washington could come in there and withstand that first half, first quarter, I think our fans might start they will be getting frustrated because everybody has sky high thoughts of this team and this and that, and there was that big letdown last week, and was it a letdown or was it Ohio State taking it? But there's definitely a little bit of a hangover going on amongst that. I mean, I myself told you before here, I said I have so much I have to get done today and tomorrow because it was like I'm sitting there last night. I'm like, holy hell, it's Wednesday night. We got people coming in Friday morning. It's not for lack of people coming in, though. I'm not worried about the fans that are coming in.
Yep.
Again, I really think that this whiteout is a great time and positioned perfect for our guys emotionally to go out there, take care of business. And, you got to win these last 4, win and in. That's it. You couldn't ask for a better scenario other than being undefeated. You got to win your 4 games. You win your 4, you're hosting a playoff game. That's all that needs to be said. That's all that James needs to say. Put it in the locker room. 4 and in. 4.
Well, and the other part of it, Goon, is we talk about the you need some luck to win a national title. So here's the other part of it is if Penn State – now, would you rather be a 1 or a 2 seed overall? Yes, I think if you could assure that a win over Ohio State then leads to a Big Ten title and you beat Oregon, yes, I would rather be a 1 or a 2 seed. But here's the thing. Penn State, again, I think if it wins out, Penn State will end up being the 6th seed.
Yep.
Well, here's the advantage of being the 6th seed is you then play the 3 seed, which means in all likelihood, and this could change too, but in all likelihood, you're not playing a Big Ten or an SEC opponent. You're playing, right now it would probably be Miami, but you're playing an ACC or a Big 12 opponent. I understand there are very good
that
teams.
Would not be
I'm not saying, I'm not saying that either of those scenarios is ideal, but you ask most college football fans generally, would you rather play a team from the top of the SEC or Big Ten or one of the Big 12? Or I'll take Big 12 or ACC. Sign me up for that. So the path is not easy, but easier, I think, or at least your thinking is easier, certainly in that 6th spot going against a 3, as you would expect it to be, than a 7 or an 8. Going against the 1 or the 2. So, again, we got to see how it all plays out. We will see how this show plays out after this timeout.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
It is our Thursday afternoon edition here from Quaker Steak and Lube, as we get ready for the whiteout game, Penn State and Washington, again here on Saturday night. You and I, again,
Whiteout, not whiteout energy.
Yep, you have to see how Penn State comes out and the way they approach this game. And there's a lot of things I'm curious about to see what happens here on Saturday night. One of the things that I thought was really interesting in James Franklin's comments this week was admitting that they have got to get back to figuring out how to establish a traditional ground game. Like the Tyler Warren stuff is phenomenal. Bo Prabula in there to add another element. Not saying you get rid of any of that, but they need to be able to run Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton, two of the better backs in the country, with more consistency, regardless of the opponent, more successful consistency.
With you.
And
you think we've been talking about this in week 10?
No, because
Right.
it seemed like Penn State had largely taken care of that
Correct.
earlier in the season. And this is where, when you run into Ohio State to me is clearly one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country. In my mind, it is.
I'm
still
hanging
the
my
most
hat on
talented
that.
team.
I'm definitely hanging my hat on that about our Penn State team. I'm saying we just took the best team and most talented team in the country. We should have been closer, if not won that game. So
yeah. So the running game, but against that Ohio State was not what you would hope it would be. And the receiving core was overmatched. Now, was it overmatched because that is one of the best secondaries in college football? Maybe. I really want to see what happens here with both of those fronts. And it was interesting. We just recorded the Keystone Kickoff show, which will run tomorrow from 6 to 8 here on Sports Radio, 98.7 The Fox, and it'll re-air on Saturday morning. But I do the 1 hour of it with Jim Galati. And a bit of a spoiler alert here, but he asks me for a bold prediction, and then he gives a bold prediction. And after we got done with the show, I'm like, what I'm hoping we see is both of our bold predictions come right. And it was interesting because we both have just slightly different takes on what we think is what
coming
Penn State
week
will try to accomplish. Okay. Correct. So Jim's bold prediction is that Penn State will go for over 300 yards passing against Washington because he thinks they need to kickstart Drew Aller in that passing game. And I'm like, I can certainly see that. My bold prediction was Penn State will go for over 200 yards rushing against Washington because they really want to establish Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen. And somewhere along the way, I think one of them, likely Singleton, will break a big one, like 60, 70-yard big time run. And if they get that, I think over the course of 4 quarters, they can get, the other 120, 130 yards on the ground. So, but it's just interesting because I think those are the two areas. I think they want to get Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton going, like really going, where you're feeling good about the way that Franklin put it, traditional running game is operating. But they also have to figure out here, Goon, what they have and who can come up consistently with plays in games in that receiving core. And, Amari Wilson largely disappeared. Trey Wallace had a chance to make, a huge play and ended up being a huge play the other way. To me, that is still one of the biggest, I don't know if I want to call it a problem, biggest question marks on this team is when you look at Oregon or Ohio State or Georgia, it feels like in those big moments, man, those receivers, they go get that ball. Like you just put it up there and they're going and making plays. Ohio State had guys making plays all over the place. Does Penn State have that? And if not, can they establish it? Can they get it before the playoffs roll around? You have 4 games to at least head in that direction and try, to address it this year. It's obviously something that will need addressed further in the offseason, but that can't be the focus right now. The focus right now is with what you have, can you get to where you need to be to make a legitimate run at a national title or at least getting into the Final Four here at the end of the year? And I think it's a question. I don't think there's a definitive answer as we sit here right now, but I think it's a big question mark. And, I think there's reason to doubt that after what we just saw on Saturday against Ohio State.
Again, I'm sitting here week 10 and we're talking about a running game that we need to get going. Are they just not letting us throw the ball? And they're saying, well, they're not letting us run the ball. They're putting 8 in the box. Historically, that's what happened to a balanced offensive team like ours would have been. And I've told you before is, you want Kerry Collins to pick you apart or Kejon and Carter. I'm not seeing 8-man fronts up there. We're just not able to run the ball now. And then the lack of wide receiver, like what you're saying, productivity and separation and just them sitting there saying, okay, well, we got to cover these guys is alarming. Very alarming that we're still talking about it, but we knew it going into the season and nothing has really come out. I mean, you watch Ohio State, the freshman kid the other day. I don't know where the stat was or what it was, but he is literally outgained, outcaught, and has more touchdowns than our the last 3 or 4 years of recruited wide receivers we have on our team right now. That seems to be a real issue with us right now. And I think teams are saying, you're not going to be able to throw the ball on us. We can cover them with 7. We can cover them in a regular zone or whatever, and say Drew Aller's going to pass on us. But he doesn't. They don't have the faith that our receivers can do it. And then they haven't shown that as of yet. And this was sort of the glaring weakness coming into the season. But we thought that we could rely on the run game a bunch more, and it's been shut down the last few weeks, especially by this past weekend to Ohio State. We did not run the ball well. We didn't run the ball as well as we should have, is what I should be saying. So I think that we got to go out there this weekend if we need to start tighten some things up, and let's get that run game blasting right now, because Washington, they are susceptible to a run game. There's 2 things they could do. They can run the ball, and they can't really defend the ball, running the ball that well. So hopefully that plays into our hands and gets our guys a little bit more confidence in the next few games and then go into the playoffs. So I see Sally has a question here. I do not know much about the playoffs, Sally, but I do know this. So if the 4 teams that do lose those first round games, they are done. There is no other bowl game for them. They are not leaving their universities to go any place warm. Correct. So if we were to play, as they said, Notre Dame, the 7-10 matchup this coming December 21, and we lose, Notre Dame will go on to a bowl. We are done. Whereas if we don't make the playoff,
Notre Dame would go to a bowl site in the playoffs.
Yes, they're the 6 bowl games that are part of the alliance.
Yeah.
I really do, and I promise to our listeners out there, I will find out in the next week or 2 how exactly they are. I mean, nothing has come out, right? Ticket-wise, how they're going to handle a home playoff game. Nothing has come out, right?
Yes, I think that is correct. I haven't seen anything.
You know how much you know what I'm talking about. I mean, just we have a game December 21st, possibly here.
Yeah,
that's Christmas week. Okay, we know it's going to be cold. That's the easy part. Is the outside done? They've winterized it, so we're good there. I've been told. Now, again, we can talk about this if you want. I mean, we're rehashing. Who gets the tickets? Does Notre Dame get 50% of the tickets? Does our season ticket holders get the first right of refusal? Do our students get tickets? They've been out of school for 10 days. Well, they actually graduated the next morning. They've already moved that, by the way.
Yeah.
So the kids that are graduating, they are here the 22nd at Bryce Jordan Center graduation. But the current students in our freshman, sophomore, and junior class, do they get their season tickets and get to go to this playoff game? Is it a corporate game? Is it a university game? Is Penn State getting the revenue for the tickets? Is Notre Dame splitting it with Penn State? Is it the NCAA playoff getting all that money and paying Penn State? Because I have said, and this is what brings it up, is because Sally asked about that playoff game.
Yeah.
We lived. Now, I know it's a different world now. I get it. But, how many people do you know do their vacation as Penn State bowl game?
Yeah, I hear.
It's not a small number. It's not like 12 mom and pops do that. No, that's a lot of people who do that.
Yes, and the travel agencies, like there are people. Even listen, there's another thing that I'll be curious to see, because, and I don't know, maybe it plays out and it'll be fine. But there are a few groups that put those travel packages together for the bowl game. And when Penn State has a successful season, like normally at this point of the year at 7-1 and with the remaining schedule, like you're getting it together for, the possibility of a bunch of different places. Well, now you can't really, I get that they'll have things in place ready to move immediately after that game ends on the 21st, but you have 2 weeks to get it ready, to get a package together. As a fan, Right, as you said, it's one thing. Hey, we're going to get the
you're
family
literally
together.
talking about the people who actually are going to take these trips.
Correct.
So even I was mentioning the people who are not going to be. Wow, I didn't think about the people who do go.
Well, and the people who organize them and all of that, and so there's that element. There's also, and I don't know. I was thinking about this actually over after the loss to Ohio State. I was just thinking about, okay, well, if they do have this playoff game, and part of why I think winning that playoff game is a big deal is like merchandise wise, right? Like there's every year when they go to a bowl game, whatever the bowl game is, you see the t-shirts and the sweatshirts and the hats available in the local bookstores. And I don't know what the number is, but there's fans that buy it. It's like,
my
I want
brothers and sisters' Christmas gifts every year.
So do you, and I don't know the answer to this. Maybe the answer is yes. My gosh, Ironhead even more than the bowl game stuff. But do you sell playoff? Hey, Penn State's in the playoffs, or I'm getting ready to go to my first ever playoff game at Beaver Stadium, something along those lines, merchandise. And if I'm sure that type of merchandise will be available, how much does that move? Is it it is a big deal that Penn State will have a playoff game. I don't know if having clothing representing that, I don't know. Maybe it will. Well, yeah, I want the t-shirt or the sweatshirt or the hat that commemorates the first time that this ever happened.
Playoffs.
So maybe it is a big deal. I'm curious about that. But yeah, so Penn State would not be in a bowl game if it loses. The playoffs are like, that's it. You're not eligible for
now.
Bowl
With
games
that said, teams like Michigan, Maryland, Rutgers, people who have 6 other wins in the Big will be going to the Southern Bowl games and in the West Coast and in the South.
Yeah.
There's going to be 4 teams who are playing. And then I have to think, are the players being paid for this game? And the answer has to be yes.
Yes, I think that is correct.
I mean, if they're going to say you're not going to a bowl game now, so okay, you're not going to be able to get any kind of bowl money, bowl check, anything like that. So, but there must be some kind of payment for these guys, bowl gifts. We always got sweatsuits, shorts, sweatshirts, pair of shoes, type of thing. Some kind of electric, very nice stuff, watches, rings, all that stuff. So they're going to have that for a playoff game. Because I don't know if I told you this, but my friend, his son who plays at Michigan, he got 4 rings last year. 4 rings.
Well, Big Ten championship,
Big Ten national championship, and they actually won the Rose Bowl. He got 4 rings. I don't think if it was I don't know if it was the playoff participant and then the national championship ring.
Interesting.
4 rings.
Yeah. Well,
now, I mean, I do have to say this. I may have actually said this before on this show. Remember being a kid and seeing a ring, and you're saying, "I got to know what that is." Nowadays, you got 7-year-olds winning a little league tournament, walking around with bling bling the size of the Rose Bowl ring. You know what I mean? It's a little weird to me. I remember just sitting there as a kid, and you saw somebody with one of those big hunks of metal in their hand, and they're a larger guy. You wanted to go over there and say, "Who are you? Where is that ring from?" Yeah. I know I've done it a lot in my life.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's for my Maricopa, Arizona 7-on-7 tournament victory. We all got big rings for that, So
yeah.
Wow. It's lost a lot of its luster. So like I said, Michigan got 4 rings last year. What do you do? Wake up and say what? You're going to wear 1 ring. That's the freaking national title ring. It's the only ring you're going to wear. You're wasting money with 4 other rings.
Yeah, that does seem a little much.
No, and in the bowl games you go to, there used to be the crappy old watches we used to get, but now they're getting crappy old tin rings now, and it's like gaudy, huge. Like I remember when I was in 2007, I believe we played in the Citrus Bowl, or maybe even the one below that. We beat Tennessee up pretty good.
Blockbuster Bowl?
No. Not when I was playing. I was coaching. Citrus Bowl, then there's the Outback Bowl. I think that's the one we played in versus Tennessee. And we got a big old ring for that. And I looked at it. I was like, that's about twice the size of my Rose Bowl ring. It was just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Rose Bowl ring that our guys have?
I
Pat wears his. I mean, it's a hunk of burning love, buddy. Holy crap.
A couple of other things from the comments section here. Somebody very mad at Peacock. Understood. Starlink is another possibility. Why didn't they get Tyler more involved early in the Ohio State game? He was non-existent. I had a lot to do with Ohio State. It was not that Penn State wasn't wanting to get Tyler Warren more involved. And you kind of knew, like, I think Ohio State came in. Jim Knowles said, look, we're going to do everything we can to take Tyler Warren. Like, if you're going to beat us, it's going to be with somebody other than Tyler Warren.
Absolutely.
Now, Tyler still darn near made the play. Should have made the play that set up a tying touchdown with a remarkable effort on that play. But I think that was largely Ohio State scheming to not allow Tyler Warren to be a huge factor, at least in the pass game. Now, could Penn State have done some more things to get him involved? Yes, but I will tell you that you have Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. Like, we have all, I think, properly heralded them as one of the best running back duos, and Ohio State's running back duo, by the way, would be another one of those top running back duos in the country. But you've got to get those guys going, and they need to get themselves going, the offensive line, whatever. But you have to get production when you have a backfield like that, even against an Ohio State or an Oregon or whatever. But so that has to be part of the equation. I don't disagree that you'd like to see Tyler Warren more involved, get him back there if that's the way you have to do it. But also, my God, you have two of the top running backs. You have an offensive line that, we believe is more physical than any that James Franklin has had. Like, you got to be able to run the ball with that. Like, good offensive line. Tyler Warren's a great blocker. Like, get something going with two.
I'm telling you, man, I'm challenging these. If I'm a coach, I'm challenging these kids. I want 200 rushing.
I think
that's my challenge. I'm challenging you guys. I'm putting it on you, and we're allowed to buy them dinner. So the coach says, we get 200, I'll buy you a steak dinner.
Yeah.
Is that allowed or I don't know.
And then,
by the way, the crypto Ewok, you had me looking. I thought Starlink, and I was like, I thought that was some kind of crypto coin. I'm like, oh God, I got to buy something else now.
Oh boy. And then Sally thinks we need a bowl game more than a playoff. It's a reward for the team. No,
Sally, we got to figure out how many zeros are in that check that's coming for that playoff game.
Well, but not only that. It to me, it's the yes, bowl games are wonderful, but in this day and age, like, that is, you ask any of these players. I understand the trip component of it, but there's not a player in college football that if you give them the option, can you be in a playoff game? You get to play in a playoff game at home, or you get to go to a bowl game. I'm telling you, at least 99.9% of the players, and I think it's higher than that, are saying home playoff game, sign me up for that.
I can't get Jim Moore out of my head. Every time you say playoffs, I go, playoffs. Playoffs.
We're taking a break here. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia, Goon and Ironhead show here on from Quaker Steak and Lube on WFXS, Pleasant Gap State College. And we are back with much more here on a Thursday afternoon after this.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things. Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing and State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, once again.
The Fox, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA's Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7, The Fox, State College, the Goon and Ironhead.
It is a Thursday afternoon here on WFXS, also known as Sports Radio, 98.7 The Fox. Do want to quickly mention 7:30 tonight, we'll have live coverage of the Ravens versus the Bengals in an AFC North showdown. And
that's a good game.
I guess I'm kind of rooting for the Bengals, but I don't know. They're
you want the
starting to build
Bengals?
some
You want the
momentum.
Bengals gone, or you want the Ravens that far ahead?
Well, yeah, they'd be.
Derrick Henry, my God, Jeff.
Yeah,
I mean, what's Tennessee doing? Did he ask? I mean, did Baltimore pay him that much more money? Did Tennessee just wanted to move on?
He was a great.
I
fit for
really
that
don't think
Ravens-
he's lost a step.
Ravens offense, that is for sure.
He is an unbelievable fit to that offense. God, he's a savage, dude. He's so good.
Steelers have a big one Sunday, taking on the Commanders and
the out of nowhere Commanders.
Well, what a difference a quarterback can make. And Jaden Daniels is playing at a remarkably high level.
Is this Quinn's first year there, right?
For a rookie. Yeah, and I think they are I think they're legit. Like they're just a lot of things came together, and again, when you get the right quarterback with any organization, it just changes the
6-2.
entire perspective of the organization.
6-2 should be 5-3. with that Hail Mary pass and all that. But out of nowhere. I mean, I remember sitting there talking to you last year and saying, it's the Cowboys and the Eagles because the Giants and the Commanders stink, and here we go. I mean, Cowboys are absolutely atrocious. And it just hurts me, Jeff. It just hurts my soul to see the Dallas Cowboys struggling the way they are.
As it
truly does. As it does Pittsburgh.
I will say be careful how much you gloat ahead of a game.
No
like
gloating.
That.
No gloating.
Because
you
speaking from personal experience, it can bite you. I still have no idea how the beloved Steelers lost that game.
Dak this past week coming up, right?
It is a crusher.
So do you think that's a true hammy or is it a Devontae Adams hammy?
Good question.
I think
question.
that Jerry's like, hey, Dak, it's just not working. We need to move on. We got to do this. And, trying to save him some embarrassment by benching him. I mean, it just seemed like, Dak left that game the other day. I watched it, and he was getting his hand looked at. And then all of a sudden, it was a hamstring, and he's out. And then all of a sudden, it's got some kind of superior pull to it where he's actually going to be out more than 4 weeks. Like, come on.
Yeah. Commanders are 7-2, by the way.
It should be 6-3 then.
Yeah. So
they didn't have the
Steelers are 6-2. It'll be one of the marquee matchups here on Sunday. That's the 1:00 kick, and then the late afternoon. Well, one of the early kicks, and then one of the late afternoon games is the Eagles at the Cowboys. And
doggy.
Let all of that play itself out. As far as Penn State basketball, Goon, exactly the start I think you were hoping for. Yannick looked like a presence for sure, and a presence that knows how to move inside, which is very encouraging for the long-term prospects of this team. I get that it's Binghamton, and I get that Penn State should be winning that game handily, but I think a lot of good signs there for what this season could turn out to be here for Penn State.
So I did see Coach Rhodes, he popped out of tailgate this past week.
Yep.
I congratulated him on the Mingo kid being committing here and stuff like that. The highest recruit in Penn State basketball history. What position? You know where Mike Rhodes is going to start his team, and that's with the point guard.
Well,
and he's going to be Ace Baldwin's relief next year, the new ace coming in. And, Mike is the epitome of a Pennsylvania point guard. Tough as nails, hard as hell, cover anybody. You're not going to beat him up. So it's exactly what he recruited. And what he's telling me about this kid, Mingo, he's like, I love this kid. And, I'm like, listening to the coach talk to a player about that is it's awesome to hear. And I really can't wait for that. But I'm looking forward to this season. I think Mike is such a freaking good coach, man. And, he gets these kids, and when they start believing in him, it's going to be really damn special.
Yeah, I think so, too. I really do think I think it's a combination of a few different things. One is I think Mike Rhodes, genuinely enjoys the recruiting process, and that is – you either love that or you don't. And there's a lot of really good coaches that don't love it. They know how to do it. I think he actually genuinely enjoys it. I also think he is a terrific X's and O's guy. And I think he's a terrific culture guy. And maybe most importantly right now for Penn State is I think this is where Mike Rhodes wants to be. Like this is the other jobs were the stepping stones to get here. I don't think he's looking for another opportunity somewhere else. Now, it's not to say there won't be ones that come up, not to say that at some point he might say, I can't turn this one down, but I don't think there's any plans. I don't think there's any plans, and I think it would take a lot to pull him away from Penn State. Yeah. I think he came in with a very clear vision of how he wanted to build this. I think you saw a terrific first season last year. I think you're going to see that next step in the process this year. And I really think by next season, I think you may see it this year, but I think by next year, you're going to have something special working here at Penn State. He has a really
wants
good
to be here.
Yeah,
and he wants to succeed.
And listen, I'm not the thing that I think he shares in common with many successful coaches is the ability to focus on the task at hand, the day-to-day, man, we're just going to get a little bit better each day, while keeping the big picture vision of this is where we're headed. This is where we need improvements to get to where we're headed. And you need that combination, especially when you're a program like Penn State that has never had sustained success. You need that. Yep, I have the big vision. I know what we're trying to get to, but I'm here for the grind. Day in and day out, we're going to do what we need to do to get a little bit better, but also seeing big picture, like we've got to upgrade talent here. We've got to upgrade facilities there, whatever it may be. And I think he has that really good overall approach with what they're trying to do. And I'm excited. I think they are going to be one of the surprises in the Big Ten, because they were not getting a lot of love from throughout the conference out of Big Ten Media Days.
Nope.
I really think they are going to be a really hard out for anybody. And listen, they have a chance, obviously, to make what would be a resounding statement out of the gate. And I'm not predicting anything, but you get Purdue here to open it up in terms of conference play. One, a great measuring stick. You find out right where you're at. But also, and capital I, capital F, but if you can get a win there, man, does that change the perception nationally. It changes expectations, I think, internally. It would be monumental to get the win. Obviously not devastating by any stretch if you lose that game.
Sure.
But, boy, what an opportunity early in the season to really make a splash here on the national level. So, anyways, we'll see where that all goes. Lady Lions, by the way, are in action tonight against Canisius at the Bryce Jordan Center. And then we have the women's volleyball team, which is now 22-1 in the season, 12-0 in Big Ten play. They'll be on the road tomorrow at Northwestern, and then a big one on Saturday night at Wisconsin. Penn State right now ranked third in the country, Wisconsin ranked seventh. And, of course, looming out there at the end of the month is the matchup at Rec Hall against Nebraska in the regular season finale. Both of those teams right now with one loss. Nebraska is ranked second in the country and Penn State third. That will be a monumental clash, and it could be the first of three meetings between the two teams here this season. They could meet very shortly after for the Big Ten championship, and obviously the potential would be there for them to play again in the NCAA tournament. Penn State women's soccer, by the way, will find out its fate regarding the NCAA tournament on Monday. The selection show for women's soccer will be Monday afternoon at 4. Big Ten semifinals, by the way, are today, this evening, and then the Big Ten championship game will be on Sunday. It would be very surprising if Penn State is not in the field. Exactly where they are in the field is what we will learn on Monday afternoon. I think it's been a little bit of a disappointing season.
Not here.
Well, first round could be here if Penn State. It could be here if Penn State's the higher seed in that opening round. Penguins and Flyers, enough said. Goon, what are they doing? It has been rough here at the start of the season.
The Flyers are officially the Sixers to me right now. I don't even watch them.
Yeah,
I can't watch them. They're unwatchable. And then the Sixers are 1-6 right now. I mean, people are talking about Embiid, and they're like, his work. They're trying to off his workload and this and that. I don't understand. The guy shows up to camp completely out of shape. Horribly out of shape, I was told. I mean, that's what everybody's saying on and he's down 7 games without playing and whatever.
Not good.
That's a lot more talk about the NBA than we actually should have. So,
True.
Are the Flyers that bad and the Penguins are that bad too?
Couple of other notes on the upcoming weekend. State College football in action tomorrow night against Erie McDowell. That is a 6A regional game. State College won the District 6 title without playing last week. Altoona not in the playoffs. So State High had the bye week last week. Erie McDowell defeated Erie 28-14 to take the District 10 title. So this is a District 6-10 sub-regional matchup between the Little Lions and the Trojans here on Friday night. That'll be a 7 o'clock kick at Memorial Field. Bellefonte will play in the District 6 Quad A championship game at Altoona's Mansion Park on Saturday night. That'll be a 7 o'clock kickoff on Saturday against Juniata. Bellefonte looking to get to the PIAA state tournament. And then Tyrone, just down the road, will be facing Penn Cambria in the District 6 AAA championship tomorrow night at 7 at Altoona's Mansion Park. And Hollidaysburg will host Du Bois in the District 6 5A championship game tomorrow night at 7. Also, the State High girls volleyball team will be competing in the PIAA state quarterfinals on Saturday morning against undefeated Hempfield. That match will get underway at 11 a.m. on Saturday at Mifflin County High School. And also, of course, congratulations going out. I had a chance to talk with head coach Rebecca Donahue on our morning show today. Let's talk. The State College boys cross country team capturing the state championship and doing so in historic fashion. One of the lowest scores ever in the cross country championships, and they won by a huge margin, 63 points, which in cross country, it's similar to winning a football game by like 6 or 7 touchdowns. I mean, it was a dominating performance. In the State College girls cross country team also took 4th at the state championship. So congratulations to the State College cross country teams on their success this season.
So LaSalle plays St. Joe's Prep in the second round of the PIAA playoffs this week in the East.
There you go.
Not all. That's a big matchup.
That is a big one.
I mean, that's 1 and 2 in the state, I think.
I think that is correct.
I think they might be actually both top 10 or 20 in the state. I mean, in the country.
Yeah.
4 overtime game last time. It was Prep's game to lose. I mean, LaSalle winning the game was actually a joy. I was told it was. From what I was told it was the best football game that some of my friends have ever watched in their life.
Is that right?
That's unbelievable to be thinking about that as at the high school level.
Yeah, no, that's
so they've been selling these tickets and they're playing in Wissahick and I don't know 5,000-10,000 people, this and that. It'll be sold. I think it's probably already sold out. And I think the winner gets Imhotep Prep. So they moved Imhotep Prep up to the level 6. So interesting to see, bud.
Yep. Back to Penn State football here, and we'll take a break in a minute. Goon, the one thing that for all of the problems and the different issues that came up against Ohio State, place kicking was not one of them, Goon. And Ryan Barker has kind of quietly been one of the really great stories here on this football team this year. Has not missed a field goal. Again, a walk-on, not the starter at the start of the season. And now he's become just Mr. Dependable. And it's what you want, I guess, in your kicker is not a lot of people talking about him. But That was a big deal. The only reason Penn State had a shot to tie that game was because Barker converted on a couple of field goal attempts in high-pressure situations and got the first points on the board, helped Penn State get that 10-0 lead. And again, kudos to Ryan Barker, and he is doing a fundraiser, raising money for the fight against pediatric cancer with a webpage that he has. So that is also cool to see, somebody using their newfound fame to go out and try to help others. And kudos to Ryan Barker. I want to throw out a few accolades his way because normally, much like an offensive lineman, you only get get talked about. Well, hey, what's going on? You're missing the field goal. Or you get something blocked, or it really is one of the great stories on this year's team to me. And hopefully, obviously, he keeps it up here down the stretch because you do get the feeling there's going to be more key opportunities for Ryan Barker here as this season unfolds, and maybe another time, hopefully not until the postseason, when he is going to be absolutely needed in order for Penn State to prevail in a particular game. So we'll see.
He's there when needed, buddy.
One of the things too, I've been watching a lot of the college football playoff discussion, and there's been a lot of talk on a lot of different fronts about how things could play out. The one thing that just cracked me up, and it got my attention, and listen, the fact is that we have seen it this year. Like any given day, any crazy thing can happen. But there was the talk was on Notre Dame, and it's like, well, Notre Dame is going to be in the playoffs because they're not losing another game. The games that we thought at the start of the season down the stretch might be problems for them, Florida State and USC, are not problems. I'm just going to push back. I agree on Florida State, and I do think Notre Dame likely will run the table. However, I do think USC is still a talented team, as I said earlier. And that game is at USC, and there is going to be pressure, especially if that game is the longer that game remains competitive and stays close. And I think it will be close throughout. The more the pressure mounts on Notre Dame and the more on the USC side, it's like, hey, we have a chance to just go out with that one shining moment. I think that is a much more dangerous game than maybe what Notre Dame fans and some folks nationally are thinking it is going to be. And can I just point out, this is a Notre Dame team, and I get it was earlier in the season, and it looks like they've rectified a lot. For God's sake, they lost to a 500 Northern Illinois team. If you're telling me a 500 MAC team can win in South Bend, I am going to tell you that a 500 Big Ten team at home can certainly pull off the upset against Notre Dame.
I like your call.
So I think that is
the
a
season stuff that could be Notre Dame
scary
looking ahead
game for the Irish, big time. And we'll see. Maybe Notre Dame goes out there and blows them out. Maybe USC has packed it in.
Is the Army game this week?
That's a really dangerous game. No, it is.
So I'm going to say this: Notre Dame is going to play Army, and they're going to get beat up a little bit because of how they block with all the low stuff and the chopping and stuff like that. Completely legal, by the way, because they're an option team and they're a full rush attack.
Yeah,
that's a tough game to come back from a week later physically.
Yeah,
they have the longer Notre Dame. I mean, Army can stay in that game versus Notre Dame, the better.
Yeah, so Notre Dame's remaining schedule. They're home with Florida State this week, then home with Virginia, and then home with Army, and then they go to USC to end the season. So,
that's by the way, that's the NBC games on the Saturday night.
For Army,
Florida State, Notre Dame.
Oh. Yeah, the Army game's a night game too for Notre Dame, which that'll be interesting. 7 o'clock kickoff.
Hey
in
man,
South
I'll
Bend.
just tell you, it's tough to play a option team during the season because everything you've been taught for the year, all year, is gone out the window. Now, and granted, they took care of Navy. They see these guys every year, so it's not like there's the first time playing them.
Yeah.
But they took care of Navy pretty well. Interesting to see how Army does with them.
It will be. It'll be interesting to see. Yes, it'll be interesting to see what wrinkles, if any, Army throws into the mix there as well. Listen, I think Notre Dame will take care of business there, but it will be interesting to see if Army can hang around, make it a little tougher on Notre Dame, and as you said, physically, how does Notre Dame then react going across the country, basically, to USC for that season finale? And we don't know yet when that game with USC will kick off. So anytime in college football you start, well, we know this is going to happen. That's when you
You
get
see me
into
shaking
trouble.
my head? Do you see me?
I do.
Why? Because
Well,
the Notre Dame USC game is at USC, so it's the last game. But they play this game every year. But it was in the South Bend. It has to be played September, October. That is what drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm looking forward to a home playoff game versus West Coast / Southern teams.
Yeah, I really do. I mean, the Notre Dame scenario would obviously be a ton of fun for the fans.
Yeah.
Get everybody.
I
fired
gotta
up.
work on this.
But
I mean, what if it is Notre Dame?
But I want to see an SEC, whether I don't care, LSU or Tennessee
Ole
or
Miss,
Alabama,
Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia,
any of those teams
Alabama,
coming up
Georgia,
here for
Ole Miss,
a
LSU.
playoff game would just be a blast. It would just be a blast. Yeah, it doesn't matter to me which team it is.
I'd like Ole Miss to come on up. Take that beating for last year's embarrassing loss.
Yeah, I don't know that Ole
Peach
Miss
Bowl.
is going to have the chance to get into the playoffs. As good as that team is, and that offense is, when it is on, that is as good as it gets in college football this year. But
well, they've lost 2 games, right?
They have, and they still have, Georgia coming up here this week, and then I'm trying to think. I think they still have.
Well, they got Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl.
Yeah. At Florida, and Florida is playing. Florida's an interesting watch down the stretch.
They're
here
playing
too.
really good against Georgia, and
really
lost by
well.
7 to 10 points.
Now was that man? We get up for the rivalry, and then that's it. I don't know, but Ole Miss again. They're home with Georgia. This feels like a dangerous spot for Georgia to me because I do think this Ole Miss offense is legit.
Yeah.
And I don't think, well, I think we can definitively say this is not Kirby Smart's best Georgia team. They have now they've gotten
lost
by
a lot,
but yes, and yes, this is no indictment of the Georgia. I mean, they've been the standard.
Yes, it is, Jeff.
And
yes,
it is a really, really good team. But I don't think this is a national championship team. And they could very well prove me wrong, but I think they are that step below this year. And I think going to Ole Miss, there's a lot of games that I'm really excited to see down the stretch here. Ohio State, Indiana, that Notre Dame USC game. Army to some extent, but that USC game, I feel like that is a really potential pitfall. There, but this Ole Miss Georgia game, I'm not sure Georgia is going to be able to slow down. however you want to look at it, I don't think they're going to be able to slow down the Ole Miss offense enough. And I don't think they can keep up. If it is the shootout, I think they can score some points. I think Ole Miss wins this game is at the end of the day, because I don't think Georgia can keep pace for 4 quarters with what Ole Miss is going to be able to do offensively, is my guess going in, which, if I'm right about this, throws the already tumultuous SEC into even further chaos, which is fun for college football. Because if that is what happens, I think it is likely that nobody in the SEC will have, let me put it, everybody in the SEC will have at least 2 losses at the end of the year, at the end of the regular season. Think about that. And this is the conference, and I'm not even necessarily arguing against it, that this is a conference that everybody considers the best in college football.
We have role reversed with the SEC.
For sure.
Our games are watered down because we bought 3 out of 4 new teams in who aren't really that smoking, where they bought a Texas team in. Holy crap, man.
Yeah. So
I did not see. By the way, that's the 5th SEC. They're ahead of Ole Miss. Sorry, you're right. That's the 4th SEC team. Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, Georgia. That's the 4
that you think are going to be in the playoffs.
Oh, that's one you're saying. That's the 4. I mean, Ole Miss is out already because they got 2 losses. But they, I'll tell you what, they beat Georgia this week and they're right back in it.
Oh yeah,
and that gives Georgia 2 losses.
Correct. Well, that's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. And then it puts them on. They're coming to State College there, Jeffrey boy. Jeffrey, come on. It's not that cold in December 20. Christmas week is actually really warm in State College. You know that, Jeff. You grew up here.
There you go.
It's always been very, very, very warm.
Yeah, so Tennessee still has I just want to double check on this. So Tennessee, which has 1 loss right now, has Mississippi State at home this week. Then they go to Georgia the following week.
So Georgia has Ole Miss, Tennessee.
Yep. And then Tennessee has UTEP at home, but then they go to Vanderbilt for the final game of the regular season with potentially a playoff berth on the line. Well,
so Georgia has Tennessee.
You tell me what all could happen.
I know they play Georgia Tech to end the year, so they have to have another SEC game.
Yeah. So again, the way this thing could still play out, because Texas still has Texas. Let me get there. Do they just have? All right, they have Florida this week at home. Then they're at Arkansas, and then they have Kentucky at home, and then at Texas A&M. So. Listen, it's possible they could have 3 teams with 1 loss, but it's not a far-fetched scenario where nobody in the SEC has fewer than 2 losses at the end of the regular season.
Isn't A&M like 15 or 16 in the country right now?
Yeah, A&M's right
they're right there.
Too.
They get a victory.
Wouldn't mind seeing A&M come to Happy Valley here at the the start of the playoffs.
Ooh,
all right, we are going to take a break here. We are back with one more segment. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food. Get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
Get up and get going with the Happy Valleys 98.7 The Fox. The Goon and Ironhead.
And we welcome you back here for one final segment on this Thursday. Again, following our show today, it's Jed Donahue on the Pennsylvania Sports Network from 6 to 8. We'll have Fox Sports from 6 to 7:30, and then our coverage of the Ravens versus the Bengals on Thursday Night Football and the AFC North Division Showdown. And the Steelers, again, taking on the Commanders in Washington on Sunday. I guess I'm just rooting against Washington this weekend.
That's fine.
Thought about that.
I got a message today. You know who's coming in to stay at my house this weekend? Is Stevie Entman.
You had said,
You've seen pictures of me next to Entman, and you're like,
tiny.
Oh,
Tiny.
I'm not a small person.
No,
that dude is matched up with me. But I always say this: I have thin ankles, thin wrists, skinny fingers. That's the largest human being I've ever seen in my life. His features are ginormous, and just a good dude, man. But God, was he a hell of a player back in the day? My God,
was.
I think about this because somebody was talking about Bill Moss last week. Remember the D lineman from Pitt who went to the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yep.
And then remember Dan Hampton, there's John Alt, and I was like, that was the era of like the 6'6", 6'7", like me, defensive tackles. I think Entman was the last one of those guys that were like the behemoth, like the guy Calais Campbell from the Jacksonville Jaguar, who's beating around the leg a lot like the last few years, but he's as tall and big like that. And it's just a miracle that a person that can play that long in that position, the way they just post and cut and take knees out and stuff like that. I mean, Steve lost 3 knees in 6 years in the NFL. I mean, neck injuries, all of that stuff. But I got to know him a couple of years ago. Just an unbelievably cool dude. I wish he was here. I wish he had come in early to come on the show.
That would have been fun.
Yeah. I mean, that's a guy who, I mean, I'm a Philadelphia kid who, like, that's my favorite. That's the guy I watched growing up playing high school football because he was that type of size guys. And I remember, I go off my little tangents here, but I remember playing with Indianapolis, and we were talking. I was talking to some guy who played with Arizona, and he goes, dude, when Edmund was there, and I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. Talk to me. He's like, I'm not going to lie to you, dude. Like, we were up in Seattle, and he goes, there is a pretty big crown on that field. I mean, that ball ran downfield with back in the day with Napoleon Kaufman, you know, the old running games and stuff like that of the Pac-12. And he said that Edmund, at like end of the third quarter, like it was a tight game, and he said Edmund's at the 50-yard line, and he goes, he looks like he's 9'5" because of the crown on the field. And he goes, he's standing there getting the crowd raised up and this and that. He's got a half shirt on. He's got like a 6-pack. He's 330. He's got pipes. He's all taped up, and he's getting the crowd right going crazy. And he goes, there were 65 guys on my sideline who literally all their butts went whoop all at one time. He said he intimidated and scared a whole football team going into a fourth quarter, and they ended up destroying the Wildcats that year. This is funny to hear that.
Yeah, and not surprising.
No,
and
you're coming by this week, you'll see him. Yeah, I don't think you're going to say to me, "Is that him?" I don't think you're going to have. Which one is he?
I think that's
so. I get him tomorrow. I got him. You know, never really did the Philadelphia area thing, so he's going to get Troy's hoagie for lunch. Do our normal, you know, lube Friday night thing, get up tailgating 7 o'clock in the morning. But then Sunday we'll get up and go to We Are Cheesesteaks down at We Are Campus Steaks down in the Pew Street. So they got to get him a Philadelphia hoagie from Troy's. I said it's the best. My brother was on there the other day. He loves it. He's been away from Philadelphia long enough to realize how good we had it growing up. And then I said that We Are Campus Steaks. I took my Navy SEAL guys there this weekend, and they were very, very happy.
Yeah.
Did I tell you about my buddy's 15-year-old son? The Navy, my buddy Navy, one of the Navy SEALs was up last weekend. He brings his 15-year-old son. He calls me on Monday. He's like, "You want him, dude? You got him. You won." He's like, that Penn State's his favorite team in the history of teams right now. He's like, he won't stop talking about you or Penn State football and this and that. And then, so we were talking on Sunday. I did my show in Landon, and, you know, Jeremy and his son dropped me off, and I said, you know, bookstores here. There's a couple more places. Go park the car and then come back down. So they leave, and I said, I'll meet you at We Are Campus Steaks at about 11:15 after the show. So in the meantime, they come in. They bought about 15 different things, all Penn State stuff. And then the kid's like, "Oh, I'm hungry." So he had already had to make a Burger King breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. So 10:45, 10:30, 10:45, he's eating Raising Cane's chicken. He's got 4, you know, I don't know if you've ever had them, but they're pretty good sized tenders, fries, and a soda. 11:15, he's eating a Philadelphia cheesesteak. And then Joe comes out and goes, "Who ordered the cheesesteak egg rolls?" And I see this kid go, "Cheesesteak egg rolls," and I was like, "No, I gotta get a couple of these for the young kid." So he ended up having a cheesesteak, plate of cheese fries, cheesesteak egg rolls, and more fries on top of that. That's on top of his double breakfast he had earlier today. So they're getting ready to leave, and I was like, "Hey, you guys want to come in the house?" And he's like, "I don't know." I was like, "You want to come into the house, dude? Your dad's going to want you to come into the house." So I made him go to the bathroom before they got on the road. I said, "You wouldn't make Maryland with all you got in your stomach." He came up from the basement. He's like, "Whew, I'm glad I did that."
Yep.
But beautiful, beautiful weekend. I'm looking towards it, towards a great weekend. We got 10 minutes. So,
yep.
You know, I have the same feel I had last week, and that is it's our game to lose. I do fear coming out a little slow with the sluggishness coming off of a tough loss, but I really, really do think that the whiteout atmosphere, the whiteout, everything that goes on is going to get our guys up and ready to go, ready to rock and roll a little bit. I think that Washington, with the travel and then walking into an environment like Penn State's going to be on Saturday, they might be a little slow also, so it might be an ugly first quarter, or we just take it from the start and then finish them. So I got us 31-14.
See if you buy this. So I think both teams are going to come out almost overly ramped up. So I think Penn State, I think the crowd, I'm reading all of the comments throughout the week. Like the Washington players are super excited about
That's
this
pretty cool to
opportunity.
hear.
It reminds me of like when teams find out, and especially when it's not like Iowa, when they find out that they get to wrestle at the Jordan Center, it's like, oh man, this is like we're going to get 16,000. And I'm reading the Washington comments, and I think they genuinely are like, man, this is so cool. We get to be part of this environment that we've seen on TV before and all that. So I
like that. I find that awesome.
Yeah. So I think both teams, we'll see how it plays out. I think both teams are going to come out like super geeked up to get this thing going. And I think if anything, it's going to be like the coaches trying to, all right, let's just settle down a little bit. Let's get ourselves. What I want to see, because especially from the Penn State perspective, with it being a night game, and with all of the emotions of last week, and I think it's maybe I'm making this out to be more than it is. I think it's been a battle this week to really get that game, the Ohio State game, behind you and dial in. Maybe it's not been that big of a deal, but I don't see when you were so close and that game, you knew what it meant. You knew what it meant to the fan base. You knew what it meant to you individually as a player or a coach. And so, like, the second quarter is more the quarter I'm watching to see. Like, does the travel and then that initial hype for Washington wear off? And they're like, all right, now this because, and kind of same thing for Penn State. Does that initial hype? And listen, part of it is going to be, I think, like, does either team seize control in that first quarter?
Yep.
You get a big turnover and you get a score, and it's like, oh, here we go. Or you give one up and it's like, oh, here we go. So there's just so many things that I think can happen. Listen, I think Penn State is a much better overall football team, and I think they just need to go out and play like it. Just go show. And again, maybe it ends up a little closer than you'd like. Maybe it ends up being a bigger blowout than people are expecting. At the end of the day, to me, that doesn't matter. You just go out and win the game. Find a way, if you need to use the crowd, if you need to fight against the crowd, whatever. Find a way to get the win, take care of it, and then I think you're able to truly move on. I do think the whiteout atmosphere and crowd helps Penn State in terms of refocusing, getting that energy level up, and even sustaining it. And hopefully, even if it is a struggle in that first quarter, the fans recognize what's at stake and, can kind of help keep that environment electric and get things on track. Because while you get in trouble anytime you chalk up automatic wins. Listen, Penn State is not going to let Purdue or Maryland derail its season. And so I think if you win this game and you take care of business, and I think they will, then the only other game that to me really is at all a concern is Minnesota. And I think it's much like that Wisconsin game. It is a better Minnesota team for sure, but this is a middle of the pack Big Ten team. By the way, much like Washington is. Yeah. And so
I got a question.
You just need to go out and beat middle of the pack conference teams because you're one of the upper tier conference teams.
UCLA had an absolutely dreadful following. Didn't see any hardly in the parking lots whatsoever.
Understand.
Interested to see the Washington Fans Coalition, see how many people they bring to the game. We know it being a whiteout for a long time. Everybody wants to be involved. I mean, Steve Entman calling and saying, dude, I'm coming up. I want to see this whiteout thing. So, their fans are going to be like that.
Yeah.
I think they have a better fan base than UCLA at that. I'd be interested to see how many of them show up. I don't think many Winnebagos. I don't think they're going to be showing.
I don't think that there'll be many of those. I do think I think there will be a lot of their fans that look at this. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think, especially once they found out it was going to be,
I think a lot of our fans went to USC.
Well, yeah. But let me put it this way, and this is just off the top of my head, because we had the bowl discussion earlier. If I'm a Washington fan, I'm not sure I wouldn't be more excited about an opportunity to watch in person this game than I would a bowl game that is, again, Washington is likely going to finish 7-5-ish, give or take a game. To me, if I'm a Washington fan, chance to come and see this whiteout atmosphere,
I think we'll have a lot.
Stadium against an opponent like Penn State. I think that's probably. I think there would be fans that would say, "Yeah, we'll forego." Like if you're a fan that normally goes to bowl games, I could see you saying, "Yeah, this year we'll forego the bowl game. Let's check out this." I don't know that that's the case, but I think I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. I think this would be a cooler experience, right? A more unique experience.
I'm going to be interested in talking because Steve's he lives in Florida right now, so he does a lot of time out in Seattle and Spokane, where he's from.
Yeah. But
most of his time he's down in Florida, so he's coming from Florida, so I really don't know. But it will be interesting to see the parking lots and see how many people are in the purple.
Yeah.
I really do. I mean, I hope we do have a lot, and I have always appreciated having new fans come to our place.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know you didn't stop by today, but I met people last year.
Yeah.
The fire truck people. They were at our tailgate. They were here the whole weekend with us. There's people you meet in the road, you know what I mean? It's like, that's how I was raised. I saw somebody from Washington walking around my tailgate doing nothing. I would say, "Hey, dude, come here. What do you need?" That's how my mom and dad were. Like, "Hey, get on over here. Just try something, eat something, drink something. Are you enjoying your time here?" Now, you know, my theory on that is we don't hate Washington. Well, I used to be really nice to Iowa people, and then they beat us up. They were number one in the country 2 or 3 times out there. So that's our budding rivalry. And I'm like, screw Iowa. And I got that wrestling, too, the aspect of it. So that's where I'm at a little bit. But I look forward to seeing all the new fans. And I would like to talk to them and say how big of a game is this for you guys. And I think we're going to hear like, oh, my God, we saw that we're playing here. This is the team that we wanted to come to the game and see. I mean, you get the big house. I mean, the big house is not really the big house to me personally. Ohio Stadium is a pretty cool venue, but if you start reading any kind of reviews, you're like, I don't know if I want to go to Ohio Stadium. You see Beaver Stadium, you remember the whiteout. You know, you see Ohio State, Michigan, you see Ohio State, Michigan. That's the game that you see. I think people see Penn State, they see the whiteout, and Washington is now part of the whiteout.
Well, it really has become such a spectacle.
Tangwell had a great interview with Guido, by the way, on behind the wall with Landon Tangwell on YouTube. Check that one out. Guido, it's awesome.
I did not see that one yet, so I
really good.
That one out. But it has become such a spectacle and such a scene, and it's why I do think you'll get more Washington fans than maybe you'd expect with that kind of distance. And the number of people that I know that are coming in just because this is the whiteout game, and it's like, man, I want the opportunity. My oldest nephew has never been to a whiteout game. He's 22,
he's coming in, right?
And he's very excited. He's bringing a buddy in, and they're excited about it. I have another friend whose nephew is actually coming down from Canada. Now, he's a big sports fan and follows Penn State because she's here, but he's never been to a whiteout game and is super excited about the opportunity. And I think he's, late 20s now, maybe. So there is something to the spectacle that this whiteout game has become, and folks want to be part of it. They want to experience that opportunity in person. And that is neat. I mean, it's neat that your school is
of the
able
four
to hold an event like
newbies
that.
Of the four new schools. Ask me where I'd want to go watch a game. I would say Washington. I don't know if you ever saw it up there. It's right on the water.
Oh yeah,
they have sailgating.
Yeah. Yeah.
As a professional tailgater, I think I need to sailgate.
I'm going to have to agree with you.
Okay. I just want to make sure
I will
we're
say
all on the same page here.
Oregon looks awfully cool too.
Yeah.
Like
I actually went never to a game, but I was actually at Oregon one time for a week. Not a week, but like 6 days doing a not a week, 6 days, a whole difference there.
Yeah.
It was like a conference for my coaching staff went out there to talk to their coaching staff and stuff like, just like watching their practices in the spring. And it was pretty damn cool. I mean, the stadium is weirdly set up.
Yeah.
And where you can see where and why it's loud and ruckus.
Yeah.
But what do you got this week?
Well, we have State High tomorrow night hosting McDowell.
Prediction.
Looking forward to that
one. Are they going to get that?
And I think State High will win that.
Really?
And I think, Penn State, I have it 30. What did I tell?
If you say my score again,
34-17. 34-17. So I think it's going to be right in that ballpark. Yep. What do you have?
31-14.
Okay. I think Galati actually had I think he had 31. I think we had the exact same, or 31. Yeah, I think he had 31-14.
Jesus. Too much.
I think that's right. So,
damn it, man.
Anyways, I'll tell you the other game in the SEC that I am looking forward to is that Alabama at LSU game. The SEC,
I like the Ole Miss Georgia game.
Is wild.
Yeah,
I really like the matchup there for Ole Miss. So again, we'll see. There are just so many different ways that can still play out.
Well, hold on.
And I think Texas,
Georgia loses to Ole Miss.
Yep,
that's 2 losses each.
Correct.
They going to take Ole Miss ahead of Georgia? They went head to head, and Ole Miss beat Georgia.
I think at that point, yes, that would be
freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Not just the playoff stuff, but just the SEC and all new teams they have in there, and how many big games they have versus each other. They can't duck each other anymore. I love it.
Yeah. Well,
now we're ducking people.
It is almost unreal the way this season has played out. And again, you could. Probably won't. Somewhere either Tennessee or Texas or Georgia probably gets through without losing another game. But you could have a scenario where you have 4 teams from the Big Ten, none with more than 1 loss, and no team with fewer than 2 losses in the SEC. And it's not a far-fetched scenario. I think probably the most far-fetched part about it, and I don't think it's that far-fetched, is Texas stumbling there somewhere down the stretch. I think they have, of the contending teams in the SEC, the easiest schedule, which is not to say they have an easy schedule.
I think we're pretty good without Pitt, right? They're already done.
What's that?
Pitt looks to be out. Losing the smooth.
It depends. It depends what happens with SMU down the stretch, and it still depends what happens with Miami down the stretch here as well.
Should we know more than one ACC team?
Pitt is not. I don't know. That's going to be interesting because if SMU and Miami get there, and SMU wins by a whisker, like a last-second field goal. Are you? And let's just play it out. That you have the Heisman
title
Trophy.
Game, right?
Yeah, you have the Heisman Trophy winner, Cam Ward for Miami. Are you really leaving a one loss in a really close game?
Yes.
Heisman Trophy winning team.
Shut them down
at home.
Shut them down.
It'd be interesting, and I mean, what it could come down to is a 1-loss Miami team versus like a 2-loss Georgia or a 2-loss Tennessee or a 2-loss name your school, Alabama, LSU. I don't know. A lot of things that could play out there. All right. Folks, enjoy the weekend of football. Again, it'll start tonight with our coverage of the Ravens and the Bengals. Coverage gets underway at 7:30 here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. We invite you to stay tuned. Coming up, it is Jed Donahue and the Pennsylvania Sports Network right here on Sports Radio 98.7 The Fox. We'll be back with you on Tuesday.
Bring it.
We'll break down the Penn State-Washington game and all of the other football action from the weekend. Right here on the Goon and Ironhead show. Until then, be good and be safe.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see ya in a Kia.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
Get our Best Wings USA, signature sauces, mouth-watering appetizers, or any of our delicious award-winning lube favorites.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak Lube.
I'm the Modelo Recruiter, and I'm looking for fans with good hands and great speed. The ones who stay focused and never miss a play. They go the distance on game day, even when their team is away. I'm always watching, always looking to reward more full-time fans. Because football isn't really football without you.
A lot has changed about State College. One thing that hasn't is W.C. Clark's Coffee Roasters on 234 East Calder Way. 30 different varieties of specialty coffee beans sourced from over 25 countries and roasted with love each morning in Happy Valley for over 45 years. They'll ship their fresh roasted coffee from their doorstep to yours. Order online at statecollegecoffee.com. That's statecollegecoffee.com.
Two of the top names in local printing have combined to serve you better. King Printing of State College has merged with theprinters.com, forming one of the 400 largest printers in America. Combining traditional offset printing and digital workflow techniques, theprinters.com can print, assemble, package, and ship to anywhere in the world, all with the same high quality customers have known and trusted for over 50 years. Buy local and save. Get started today at theprinters.com.
Lusk & Associates Sotheby's International Realty proudly presents the introduction of our new State College office at 314 South Borough Street in State College. At Sotheby's International Realty, we advertise locally, nationally, and internationally, bringing the best of advertising and promotion to each and every one of our properties, big or small. Call now.
With a Timber Kids savings account, you can start to save money, earn prizes, and teach your kids the value of savings. It's easy as 1, 2, 3. Building futures is what we do at TFCU.
You really need to belong to a credit union. You belong at TFCU, Timberland Federal Credit Union, a credit union you can grow with.
WFXS, once again.
The Fox, your sports radio.
Broadcasting live, loud and proud from Central PA Sports Authority, WFXS America.
98.7 The Fox, State College, the Goon